Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, mahaba, ciao, bonjour, namaste, jumbo, bienvenidos. Hey, my name is Jedley. Welcome to Reading with Your Kids. We're coming to you from the beautiful neighborhood of Reedville, located in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts. We're so very honored and absolutely delighted that you would join us in our mission to help all families grow closer through reading. We do that by sharing fun, thoughtful, and thought-provoking conversations with fascinating people who just happen to be writing books for kids of all ages. You can join us in our mission by telling all of your family and friends about the show and letting them know that they can hear us on the WREB AM/FM 24/7 radio network, and they can find us on the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Good Pods, Podcast Addict, CastBox, Amazon Music, Player FM, Audible, wherever you find your favorite shows. 3 wonderful guests for you today. First up, Tammy Gerhard is here to celebrate cocoa hugs and coffee mugs. Later, we'll be meeting Ria Agawall. She's here to celebrate her debut children's book. It's called The Hungry Granola Bar. And topping off the show, Russell J. Fellows will be here to celebrate children of the ancient heroes. A very exciting conversation for me. Our guest is here today to celebrate a couple of her books, but also celebrate something more than that. Please welcome to the show, Tammy Gerhard. Tammy, how are you?
I am good. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm excited, really excited to have you on. You are the author of Cocoa Hugs and Coffee Mugs, and also the author of the I Love My Community activity book. Can you talk a little bit first about the original children's book, what inspired you to create the activity book, and then I also want to talk to you about a very special place that you're creating. So let's talk about the book first.
Thank you. Yeah. So back in February, I launched Cocoa Hugs and Coffee Mugs. That book really focuses on a part of our coffee shop. The motto of the shop, the motto of one of my own mottos is love coffee, love people. And the premise of the book is a little girl who's coming into a coffee shop regularly with her mama and doesn't love coffee. She actually loves hot cocoa and wants to know if she can still love the people around her, even if she disagrees. To me, that is a message for all of us at all times, and especially right now. And so she learns by walking through the shop in the most gentle and kind of ways she can spread joy, show love and kindness, even if she disagrees, and still retain all of who she is.
I love the premise of this book. Can we disagree and still love somebody? How do you think we've gotten to the point now where I hear people saying, if you don't agree with me, not only I can't date you, I don't want to talk to you, I can't be in the same room, I can't even go to the same college, I can't share the same campus with you. How did we get to this place?
Yeah, it's actually pretty heartbreaking to me. And I was a school counselor for 22 years. And so I really believe that the best way to instill these values is to do it really early on, which is why I kind of moved towards that realm of picture books. Because when we instill those values of kindness and empathy and compassion, looking at things from others' points of view, recognizing we don't need to get all undone if someone doesn't believe or think exactly like us, but we can move towards each other with curiosity and kindness and compassion. By doing that, I believe personally we can nurture a generation of compassionate individuals that can have a positive impact on the world around them. And that's what I think we're doing every day at the shop that we, run and that I own.
So you telling me before we hit record that you are the owner of Silk City Coffee Shop, and it sounds like that's more than just a coffee shop. It sounds like it's your mission or ministry, to borrow a phrase from religion.
Yeah. So myself and my husband opened this shop in partnership with two of my grown alumni students who are married about 8 years ago. And the focus of that shop really was, how do we create a warm, caring, inviting space that anyone in the community could come into and feel like they are seen and known and cared about. And just kind of creating that third space, not home, not work, but another place that you just feel really comfortable in and can build relationships. And that's what we've done within the community. And then part of that is that community needs board that the book is about. I think I shared about that with you beforehand, where people can share their needs. Anyone can pick up a need. And Fox 61 locally just picked up that story last week, but really just building a space where people feel safe and comfortable and can connect. That's important to me. And it's important to the other co-owners that I walk this with. And it's become a really important place, I believe, for members of our community. My quadrant, the thing that I oversee is community engagement and charitable giving. So I think it was a natural bridge for me to start putting out some material, putting out these books, and I do some other books and speaking that help people kind of capture that vision and become real bridge builders. Really what my focus of this next book, the new book that I'm putting out, is helping kids put themselves into the story so that they can learn to understand the important role they play, even at their young age, of being bridge builders in their own community. What is it like to move towards people with love and build relationships and grow ourselves in kindness and compassion towards each other?
I'm really curious. We are recording this at the beginning or almost mid-December of 2024. We just went through probably one of the most contentious election seasons, at least in recent memory. What was your coffee shop like in the months leading up to the latest election? Was it all peace and harmony, or was the shop empty? Because no.
No. I think that anxiety gets in the way, fear gets in the way of people being able to draw towards one another, even if you don't fully see eye to eye. And I feel like we have built a space, and I hope that is our prayer, like that we've built a space where people can come together even within their differences and share a cup of coffee and a great cookie and sit down and have just conversations, hard conversations sometimes, life-giving conversations. I don't think that, my experience at least in the shop during that period of time, people obviously were going through everything that they're going through. But one of the commonalities for people is just really loving being there, good coffee, snacks. For me, being in that space, despite the things going on, life is crazy. It brings all sorts of ups and downs and all arounds for every single one of us. And that's part of having empathy and compassion for others. And that's something that I see in our shop every day.
Beautiful, beautiful. I'm so intrigued by this. Obviously, it's difficult to start any type of business, and one of the things I heard when I started my business many years ago was, you're probably not going to make it. Most businesses fail in 6 months, and you got to learn this and business plan and all this. And boy, it sounds like in some ways you guys are breaking all the rules. It's you're putting community and empathy before profits and all that other kind of stuff. How's it going?
We have loved our shop. We love it. I love every day. We're busy. People seem to have embraced the vision. I think I've said since we opened 8 years ago, I remember the weekend we opened, I was like, listen, we can create a space. We can create a space that's lovely with great workers, because if love coffee, love people is your motto, the people working for you and how they treat customers matters, and how they treat each other and how we treat them. We care really well, I believe, for our staff. They matter to us as people. And then you can put out a great product, obviously, but you cannot guarantee that the customers are going to embrace it. But what's happened around us is that the community around us has really embraced the vision that we set forth. And at about our 5th year, we opened a roastery. That was during COVID. We actually opened a roastery where we're roasting our own beans. And then now we're using those beans to help support other shops and helping train and get other shops up and running around the state. I also do a lot of work. I do a give back. Since we've opened for 8 years, I choose a nonprofit making a difference, bringing hope to our area. And we highlight them every month. At this point, we do a special vegan, gluten-free sugar cookie, and we give $1 back for every one of the cookies that sell every month. And that cookie is in the nonprofit's colors, and we highlight the work that they're doing. So I've had the privilege and opportunity of really doing that work of community engagement, both sides, helping the community get engaged, obviously, in the shop. And I believe our shop is a really sweet, warm, wonderful place with great products that people enjoy being in. But then also getting out of those doors and making connections with people making a difference in the community, and then leveraging our business to support their really beautiful and important work. You know, that really is my heart. And it's even when I wrote this second book, this was about helping from the earliest of ages, kids see that they play an important role in the community that they live in, and try to build and develop those really important values that are vital to health within your community at an early age, so that hopefully, like I said, we can grow an entire generation of individuals who make a positive impact in the community, the world around them.
I don't know Manchester really well, but I've had the opportunity to perform there and be there. It's a lovely little community.
Thank you.
It's a little community.
Mm-hmm.
Can we do this in Hartford, Bridgeport, New York City, Boston?
I believe so.
Uh-huh.
I think that the world is, like I said, there's a lot going on all the time. I think for me, where I stand is I can influence and impact my own sphere of influence, where I have been placed for this time and season. I actually have the privilege and opportunity to choose to invest my time and my resources, my talents in helping the space that I am be the best it can be. Mm-hmm. And that's what I've chosen to do. Now, by writing books, my book mentor was always like, right, because these things now go out of your area. Mm-hmm. Like, it's more than just a cookie coffee date, which is what I always wanted to do. I'm like, I'll just do cookies and coffee, and someday someone else can write about it. I was like, but what I understand now is as these things go out, like I was just, my book distributor had me down in Texas on a little book tour. I'm like, they're in coffee shops down in Texas and general stores and libraries, and it's touching the heart of their communities too. So that opportunity to maybe see this concept spread into other areas, and know that if there's anything that I can do to help see that happen, I would be so honored to be able to do that. Now, if that just is a family hears this podcast and they purchase books and they start having these conversations, the back of the book actually is postcards to mail to people, making a difference, and stickers inside of it for all the pages. But there's also a statement to parents to help parents engage their kids in an ongoing work of this in their households. And then a little challenge online where I'm encouraging parents to pick up and post their kids making differences around them and blessing and encouraging other people. So I think part of what this book, this new book that I'm launching currently, the I Heart My Community, I Love My Community Kids Activity book, my hope is that it really gets into the hands of kids and families all over the country, and it starts reframing the way the kids think about their own purpose and impact at an early age, and helps develop and nurture those values in them, and also hits the heart of parents and aunties and grandmas and friends who purchase these books, because honestly, this was my own conviction. I was like, I'm talking about children's books, and I sensed like the Lord was like, actually, you are writing picture books with important topics for kids of all ages.
Mm-hmm.
Can say an awful lot that hits home in 32 pages of a picture book.
One of the things that I was thinking about as you were reading this is I think the kids will get it very easily.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this might be one of those books that when the kid says to mom, dad, auntie, read it to me again, read it to me again, I have a feeling that this book might be tough for some parents to read again, because I think they're going to see a lot of things in themselves that now they're not so comfortable with. And that's just what I was thinking about, because when we're talking about, this problems that we have in our country, we're not experiencing that necessarily with kids. 4 and 5-year-olds, I think, are able to get along with each other. But I think there are some parents who are going to read this, and I don't mean don't pick up the book. I think everybody should read this book. But I think they're going to read it and they're going to go, eek. I'm one of those people who, I can't love you because you don't like coffee.
Well, I think that it's this book, to me, it's rhyming, it's sweet, the illustrations are lovely. I love my illustration. The woman who did my illustrations is beautiful. She does hand-drawn, watercolored illustrations. They're lovely. The message is so gentle. Mm-hmm. And that is the point for me. This literally is taken from a little girl's perspective with her mom. So it's not a harsh book. It's a gentle book that just makes you stop and think okay, we're talking cocoa and coffee, and there's a lot of issues in this world. They're so far beyond coffee and cocoa where you're struggling to really connect around it. But like I said, for me in my own just life, I tend to, my background as a guidance counselor, I've worked in trauma counseling, to me, go curious always. There's a reason every single person has the beliefs and thought systems that they have. They formed from something. And so instead of taking something so personally and attacking someone over it, use some empathy, consider from the shoes of another person why they might have gotten to the point that they have these belief systems or thoughts, and just sit down over a cup of coffee and engage a conversation. It can be that gentle. And that really is what I was trying to do with these pieces of material, is to encourage that way of thinking, that every single person in this world is diverse. They all, even if you have some commonalities, you're different. Sit down and actually care enough to have those conversations with another human being, and allow that other human being to ask you questions too and answer them without getting defensive, and see if that can be a bridge that's built between you. That's really the point of materials like this.
I love it. One of the things you mentioned about Silk City Coffee Shop is that it's a place, and you've said it a number of times here in our conversation, that your shop is a place to be seen. And one of the things, my beautiful wife and I ran a ministry at a homeless shelter for a number of years. And the thing that surprised me the most, it was a great ministry that the people in our parish would bake goods. We would bring them and we would serve them. Christmas time, people would buy gifts, but it wasn't the deliciousness of the baked good or the ice cream. It was when I would look into the eyes of one of the guests at the shelter and say, "Hey, how you doing? What would you like tonight?" Mm-hmm. And that being seen, having somebody look and see you, was so important. And I hadn't realized it until I was part of that ministry. What an important thing to help our kids learn is to really see the people around us, the people that we go to school with. I know as I'm getting older, I'm almost 100. There are a lot of times I can walk into a room with a bunch of teens and tweens, and it's like I'm invisible. They don't even see somebody that's older than 21. So what a great skill to teach kids.
Mm-hmm. When someone is different than you in some way, they look different, they have different background, beliefs, whatever the thing is, it's easy to marginalize another human being. And so this to me is a really gentle way to train up a process of thinking about others with empathy and kindness, and then going towards people instead of shying away for or running away from. A lot of parents are like, okay, I love this. How do we train this way, your cocoa hugs and coffee mugs way of thinking in our kids? My answer really was this: help your kids consider what it is like if they viewed their life from a very early age as one that can have a positive impact and make a difference in the world around them. And if a child comes at their world in that way, I believe they will be more apt to engage the people around them, to consider others, right? Mm-hmm. And to recognize that their story also matters in the greater scheme of things. And so that, I think, to me, is one of the main reasons I've really loved publishing this book and seeing it go out. I'm working with a lot of schools in the area, both private and public, where I've been out doing the work with these books. I have a puppet that is my character that asks all the questions of the smaller kids to engage them in the process. I've been working with older kids around values and character development and those kinds of things in the school setting. I am so honored every single time I get a chance to take this material, invest it into these young lives, because I really trust that the return on investment is going to be a change in mind and heart that will positively impact the community around them and their families as well.
I love that. Sounds like you're putting people over profits.
Yep.
But it also sounds like you are proving that you can be a successful business with a heart, and with a heart towards changing the community and bringing people together.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. Where did that love come from?
Well, that is sweet. I think this has been a part of the passions that I've had for a really long time. I would totally say those are probably things the Lord had built me with when I was created. And then I think they just got set on fire as my own faith grew, as my own relationships grew, as, I got married and we built our family and just continued to grow and develop. We have, our adult children. These are the things that I've always worked to instill in them. Mm-hmm. And then the kids that I've mentored. So we opened the shop with a young adult couple that I've mentored since they were 13 years old. I've mentored teenagers and young adults for 20 something years. And my passion is to see them continue to grow in the journey of their own lives and their faith and their relationships, in the way that they treat people around them and their own families. So I think all of that is part of what has inspired all the rest of this.
Yeah. We should tell everybody, well, first, you mentioned that the book is available in some coffee shops down in Texas. Where else can folks find the book?
Yeah, so the primary space to purchase it, and I think you said you're going to put my links on with this, correct? So Anava Publishing, Anava means taking up your God-given space in the world. That's what it means. Not thinking too little of yourself, not thinking too much of yourself. That is Anava Publishing, so ANAVAH publishing.com. That is the primary way to get a signed copy mailed directly to you with little notes and cute fun things from me. Cocoa Hugs and Coffee Mugs is also available in its paperback version on Amazon, but if you want the hardcover with all the special things and the stickers, which it just won a Mom's Choice Award, that you can get directly through my site. There on my website are a number of local stores across the state, from Eastern Connecticut through Litchfield, where they're also available at their shops. They're at Silk City, the coffee shop. We definitely have them for sale on our shelves. There's a cute little doll that goes with it for my character. They're all together. But I personally adore when people purchase through my direct site so that I can include fun stickers and little notes and get them mailed directly to their homes. So that's my favorite.
And if folks want to come and visit Silk City Coffee Shop, they don't want to just drive into the middle of Manchester and go, where's the coffee shop with the books? And what address should they put into their GPS?
Number one, my favorite is if you actually did that, everybody would point you directly to the shop. So that's joy. We're right in the center, the epicenter of Manchester, in the center of Main Street, downtown, which is this beautiful little downtown. It's 763 Main Street in Manchester, Connecticut.
We've had a great time speaking to the author. Oh, are there going to be more books coming from you?
Yes. Yeah. So what you'll see in this, it's me and my husband of 30 years and my 3 adult kids and then my awesome cat, King. He is highlighted in this book. And my next series is going to be my King the Cat series, all about social emotional issues through the eyes of my sweet pet. That's going to be tied to this series. So that's the next series of picture books coming out. I also do some traditional writing. I have a book that is like devotions and mine is on like leaving a legacy and Cookie Day. I've done Cookie Day for now 19 years with kids that I mentor. But so I do some traditional writing as well. That's out through Rebel. And I just finished a part of a book for Guideposts. So I do some traditional writing, but in terms of children's books, that really is going to be my next piece. I'm starting my King the Cat series. I've been writing, and my illustrator's going to work on it soon.
We've had a great time speaking to the author of Love Coffee, Love People, and the brand new activity book, I Love My Community. Our guest has been Tammy Gerhard. Tammy, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you. It's actually Cocoa Hugs and Coffee Mugs. You got that right. Love coffee, love people, though, is my motto. And
your motto, yes. Okay. All right. Well, I made the mistake on purpose so you could correct me. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. Tammy, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a great day.
Before we invite our guest into the studio, I would love to invite you to visit a very special website. It's clownswithoutborders.org. Clownswithoutborders.org. This is a group that I absolutely adore. I am part of Clowns Without Borders, and I had the honor of being part of the 2023 tour of El Salvador. I had so much fun joining with artists from all over the world to bring a smile to people who really needed it and really appreciated it too. And we would love for you to join us as a monthly Joy Maker. The Joy Makers, they're a family of people just like you who love to laugh and make other people feel good. So please take a moment and visit clownswithoutborders.org and consider joining me as a Joy Maker. Join us right now from Houston in the wonderful state of Texas. Our guest is here today to celebrate her debut children's picture book. It's called The Hungry Granola Bar. Please welcome to the show, Ria Agawall. Ria, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I really appreciate the opportunity.
I'm delighted to have you on. I can't wait for you to tell us all about the Hungry Granola Bar. I'm often hungry after I eat a granola bar. Tell us about your book.
So my book obviously is about a hungry granola bar. It starts off with a boy. His name is Kim. He's looking for something to eat for breakfast, and his mom hands him a granola bar. Unexpectedly, when he opens the granola bar, it turns out to be alive. The mom and the son exit the scene, and then it's about the granola bar and his journey to find food.
Wow. This sounds like a lot of fun.
It was so much fun writing it, and the way it came to me was actually I was playing with my younger brother and eating a granola bar, and so that's a little ironic, but yeah, it was super fun to write it.
And we should let everybody know that you are a very young author. You're almost 16, right?
Yes, I'm a sophomore in high school. I actually wrote the manuscript for this book when I was in 6th grade, but I didn't touch it until about 8th grade again, and it took a little bit over a year to publish the book, so I worked all through 9th grade to get this book out.
Wow, that's really incredible. Because as a high school student, you're kind of busy.
I'm very busy, yes.
So what was it that drove you to focus on the book and get it done in addition to doing your studies and maybe different activities and whatnot?
So I've always, ever since I was a little girl, I've always enjoyed writing, and it's just been a dream of mine to publish a book. When I was younger, I would always write short stories for my best friend, and then when I had a little brother, I would write stories for him as well. This story I actually wrote in dedication to my younger brother. And so that dream of mine to publish a book is really what motivated me, in addition to my parents and my younger brother. When I first wrote the manuscript in 6th grade, my dad and my mom, they actually were like, "Oh my God, this is so amazing. You should publish the book." And I wanted to, but as a 6th grader, was a little bit scared probably, which is very understandable because it's such a huge dream to publish a book. Mm-hmm. And then I can't remember how exactly, but I came across the manuscript again in 8th grade, probably because I was going through all of my data, because I was going to 9th grade and going to high school and making sure I had everything saved. And when I came across the manuscript, I read it to my parents again, and my dad once again said, "Let's get this book published." And then it just kind of sat with me and was lingering with me, and it was like, what is stopping me from publishing this book, from accomplishing my dream to becoming a published author? And so I got on the web, I looked for some companies, and then, from there on, I just went on to publish the book.
Now, you said that you had to ask yourself, what is it that's keeping me from publishing this book? Did you find an answer?
I think what was keeping me was just myself. I think, especially when you want to have a dream, I think your biggest enemy, or you could say that, is yourself, is your fear. It was just I guess my fear was getting in the way. What if no one liked my book? What if no one wanted to buy it? All of those what ifs were getting in the way. But I was like, you're never going to know until you do it. And they're just what ifs. So and I believe that if you work hard and you're truly passionate about what you do, luck will come to you and things will go your way. So I had to put down that fear, and I had to have that confidence in myself that people are going to like the book. And I actually went back to the school I used to go to for middle school, and I read my book to the kindergartners, first graders, and the TK students, and they all enjoyed it so much.
That's wonderful. Now, it's one thing to kind of intellectually say to yourself, oh, what's the worst that can happen? They won't like it, or whatever. I'm still going to live. But there's a lot of people out there with a dream who have that intellectual conversation with themselves, and they still don't do it. What was it that really pushed you to say, I'm going to take a chance?
What pushed me, I think it was my parents, really. They were so motivating, and they were like, we're going to support you through this entire process. And having a support system and someone to have confidence in you, motivate you, that really boosted my confidence. And I think once you take that first step, then everything just gets a little bit easier. That first step is the hardest step to take. And so I think once you get your first step out of the way, then the process and everything, it just becomes a little bit lighter.
So tell us a little bit more about the Hungry Granola Bar. What's this character like?
So this character is obviously a Hungry Granola Bar. This character is funny. This character is curious. My character is very mysterious. He's a granola bar, so he doesn't really know that much about the world. He doesn't know that grass is grass. He actually thought that it was poison. So I incorporated a little bit of humor into my book because obviously kids love to laugh, and there were certain sections of the book when I read it to the TK kids that they really laughed a lot. So my character, he's mysterious, he's hungry, and he's driven full of emotion, but he's also very motivated to find food. So that's how my character is like.
That's cool. Were you channeling any of that motivation that you were feeling from your parents as you were putting the finishing touches on this book?
Yes, I actually, like I said, it took me over a year to get the book out because I had to make a lot of changes. At first, when I was starting high school, we had to edit the manuscript, and I still had that like middle school knowledge, so I didn't edit it that much. And then the illustrations took a long time. I drew the illustrations out by hand, and I sent it over to the company that I worked with, and they sent it back. And it was a lot of back and forth because I'm a perfectionist, and I wanted everything to be perfect before I published the book. And actually, I believe the illustrations were done, like they were completely finished by March of 2024. But by that time, I'd finished a semester in high school. And I think you grow a lot, especially in high school, you grow a lot. So then I went back and edited the manuscript again for like another few months. So.
Wow. And what's the reaction been to your classmates that they're going to school with a published author?
I remember one of my friends, she was like, I can't believe I get to be in the phase and go to school with and know a published author. And a lot of my friends were super supportive and were like, wow, we're so happy for you. And so that one friend, I distinctly remember, she was super sweet.
That's wonderful. So let's learn a little bit about you, because I think we're going to have some great things coming from you. Other than being very close to your family and supportive of your brother, and they're supportive of you, what are the kind of things that interest you? What do you hope to do with your life?
Some things that interest me right now in as terms of hobbies is tennis. I like to play tennis. I also still love writing and I love to read. If I get time, I will try to do that. I'm also a dancer. I've been dancing for over 10 years. I do Bollywood dance.
Bollywood dance. Wow, that is very cool. Now, do you do it with the whole, like a big cast, big troupe of 15, 20 people?
Yeah, I do. I go to Notch, Houston, and so I go about once a week, and we put on 2 really big performances every year.
Wow. We've had a couple of Bollywood stars on Reading with Your Kids.
Oh, wow.
And I don't think people, I know most people here in the States have no idea that the place on earth that makes the most movies, it's not Hollywood, it's Bollywood.
Yes. I love Bollywood movies.
Tell me, I've seen a couple. We've one of the people on my team, who's been working with me for about 10 or 11 years, lives in Mumbai. So I have had some, certainly become friends with her and learning about the very, very vast and very diverse Indian culture that exists there. If the Hungry Granola came to life and asked you, "What's a Bollywood movie?" Can you describe what it is to that person and what we're missing here in the States?
Of course. So if the Hungry Granola Bar came to me and asked me what's a Bollywood movie, I would say it's like living in a magical dream. It's like a magical fantasy. There's lots of singing, there's lots of dancing, there's lots of drama to soak in, so it's very, very entertaining. When I watch Bollywood movies, I don't think there's any, moment of the show where I'm, bored. I'm always wanting more. And then the singing and the dancing is just super entertaining and super fun. And if you go to, an Indian party, they're always blasting those songs from the movies, and it's just so fun.
Yeah. Do you think that maybe you'll be sharing some of your love for that culture in future books?
I would definitely do that. My brother actually was suggesting that I write a second book to the Hungry Granola Bar, and I was like, I would definitely think about doing that. And so I haven't really thought about it yet at the moment because high school, but I would definitely incorporate diversity into a book of mine for sure.
Yeah. And for after college, and I know it's you don't even want to think about junior year of high school, but what kind of goals do you have? Where do you think what kind of field do you think you might want to work in?
I'm very interested in medicine and business, so I hope to be working in one of those fields.
Well, you should check out one of our one of my favorite guests, and I got to meet her in person for the first time this past weekend. Her name is Rajani Laraka, and she is the author of probably a dozen or so books, and from picture books to middle grade novels. She writes a lot about her Indian culture, but she, in addition to being a very successful author, she's a practicing physician.
Wow.
And she works at Massachusetts General Hospital.
Wow, that's really impressive.
It really is. And one of the most fun interviews I had with her, I'll try to find it, but we talked about the heart. And as a doctor, she came on and was talking and explaining and how we can help kids learn about the heart. And I remember I asked her, I said, well, I know the heart, it's a muscle and it pumps blood, but why does it feel like it's broken when I get upset and I break up with a girlfriend or something like that? And I felt, as soon as I said it, I felt so stupid. She says, no, that's not stupid at all. And she kind of explained the connection.
Yeah, my dad actually is a pediatric cardiologist. And so, yeah, he works with children and heart problems. And so my interest in medicine actually sparked from going to the hospital every day after school. When I was younger, my mom also worked in the hospital. She's a medical writer. So there's a lot of medicine in my family. And so that interest just kind of sparked.
Well, that's really wonderful. Ria, is there a place where we can go to find out more about the Hungry Granola Bar and maybe find out more about you?
Yes, so you can find the Hungry Granola Bar on Amazon. Just search up the Hungry Granola Bar. And I believe it is also on Barnes & Noble's online.
Yep, I found it on Barnes & Noble. Well, this has been wonderful. You said you're thinking about a sequel to the book. Any idea timeline-wise? Are we junior year, senior year?
If anything, it might be around junior year. Depends on when I start writing the book. But unlike my first book, because I had written the manuscript in 6th grade, because I also know the process of how to publish a book, it would be a lot faster regarding timeline. So hopefully end of junior year.
Well, you have an open invitation to come back on to celebrate that book or any book that you create.
Thank you. Thank you.
We've had a great time speaking to the author of The Hungry Granola Bar. It's the debut picture book from our guest, Ria Agawall. Ria, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you for the opportunity. I really enjoyed it.
Are you looking for a creative way to bond with your kids? Let me tell you all about Drawing with Your Kids, the ultimate destination for artistic adventures. Join us as we dive into the wonderful world of children's books with renowned illustrators guiding you step by step. From beloved characters to whimsical scenes, unleash your imagination and create cherished memories together. Whether you're a seasoned artist or just picking up a pencil, there's something for everyone at Drawing with Your Kids. Please visit our website, readingwithyourkids.com, and click on the Drawing with Your Kids link at the top of the page and let the creativity flow. Drawing with Your Kids, where every stroke brings stories to life. Join us right now from the wonderfully friendly and welcoming state of Oklahoma. Our guest is here today to celebrate. His brand new children's book is called Children of the Ancient Heroes. Please welcome to the show, Russell Fellows. Russell, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
I am so intrigued by the title of your book, Children of the Ancient Heroes. Which heroes are we talking about?
Well, heroes that I completely made up.
Okay, well, that's great. So tell us a little bit about the book and about the kids and the heroic parents.
All right. Well, this is a book where two siblings, a 13-year-old girl named Tirza and her 9-year-old brother Eli, they live in Oklahoma. That's where it starts. But after they get hold of an old book that Tears is kind of a bookworm, and she kind of, is intrigued by this old book that she sees, and she and her brother get a hold of it, and they start reading through it thinking that it's just a bunch of weird poems. It turns out it's not. It's magic spells, and
no.
accidentally cast one, and it rips them from our world and transports them to a magical world called the Lighted Lands. And they're separated at first. And in this world, they find, that magic is real, that monsters are real. And there is a lot more to their family than they ever believed. They found out a whole bunch of secrets that their parents had never told them about this world, and they actually have a long history, both good and bad.
Wow, this sounds exciting, and I'm imagining that kids would absolutely love all this adventure and imagination.
I'm hoping so. So far, the reception of it has been pretty positive, so I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, and am I right in thinking that this is going to be part of a series?
Yes, it is. It is. My original plan was to write a trilogy and then to have a fourth book as kind of a prequel later on. When I first wrote this book, I wrote it rather on the long side. And so my publisher was like, yeah, how about we split it up into two? So my original trilogy is now probably going to be a few more books than I had originally planned, but it's all good.
That's exactly. It's all good. The fans of this series are going to love that. More books. I'm curious what I imagine you were inspired to start the book in Oklahoma because that's where you are. But what inspired all the magic and the monsters and all of those other fun elements?
I am an avid reader, and so are my kids. Which is why I'm very excited about being on your show, because we have always been big proponents about reading aloud with our kids. I started when my daughter, who is now in college, but when she was like 7 or 8 years old, I started reading her The Hobbit and 21 Balloons and all of Jules Verne and all sorts of different books and Narnia. And I think Narnia was a big proponent to how things came about. I've always tried to write books myself. I've leaned toward more of older children, like YA age frame. But my kids asked me, well, why don't you write us a story? So I was like, okay. And so it started out as a story for my children, as an adventure that they would go on. We used to have in the mornings, we had on our, dining table, we had a ceramic message board, and I started writing the story out on that as little messages, before I would leave for work. And I just wanted them to have a magical adventure, and that's how it started. Of course, it's grown since then. I had to change the names of my characters away from my children's names, just so that it would have I don't know, it just felt better to have different names than my own children. So.
Yeah. Neat. I imagine that a story that was born truly of love of your kids, of love of spending time with your kids, a love of wanting to give something special to your kids, that must really make this story extra special.
It is. It's been a long process. And they have been part of every step. They've been my readers and my editors, and along with my wife, who Professionally, she's an editor, so she's been great in helping me put this together, and just their inputs, like um, as they read characters and see what the character is doing in the story, they've come to me like, well, I wouldn't do that. They're like, okay, well, what would you do in this situation? So, um, so yeah, it has been not just my love, but their love for the story too. So it's been really a family effort.
Yeah, neat. I imagine it must be a little tough sometimes having the wife as an editor, because it's like you can't get away with anything. She's like, no, nope, you're not.
Yeah.
This isn't gonna work.
Exactly. There's been quite a few things. She's like, you can't have that in this book. And I'm like, but it's funny. She's like, no, it's not.
Tell me, I'm always curious because, and I've said this on the podcast in the past, I have a hard enough time keeping the characters and the physics of a fantasy world straight in my own head as I'm reading the book. I imagine it must be incredibly difficult, or maybe not for you as you're creating this fantasy world and this magic. How do you keep things straight? Do you have like little stickers all over the wall? Do you have some kind of canon, or do you find yourself painting yourself into a corner and thinking, okay, I have to come up with something to get me out of this?
All of the above.
Oh.
Now, I usually start out, and I just write. I just write a story. And most of the time I find that, well, no, this doesn't really work. And so then I try and take that idea and make it into an outline, so that I can keep track of what is happening where and who is doing what. And it really does help having, other people reading, my family, plus others that I've met online through different social media or other critique groups, just so that they can read through it and are like, whoa, wait a minute, why are you having them do this here when they did something completely opposite that would make this impossible? You did that back here. And I'm like, oh, wow, yeah, I completely forgot about that.
All right. So it's interesting. We've heard people say that they don't outline and they just write the story, or other people say they outline and then they write the story. You are the first person, first author I've had on that says, well, I write the story and then I write an outline.
Yeah. I used to be a big pantser. I would write a lot of short stories.
Mm-hmm.
I've even had a couple of them published many years ago. But so for short stories, pantsing was just the way I did it. Everything, I just let everything flow. I found with longer narratives, though, that only got me so far. I know some other brilliant authors that can do it all on a whim. That's great for them. I don't have that kind of mindset. I'm good for short distances, but the long distance, I need a map.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of try and combine the both of them.
Yeah, great. That's wonderful. Tell me, your writing is obviously, you've been writing for a long time. Did you always imagine that you'd be writing for kids?
On some level or another, yes.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've always enjoyed children's stories more than grown-up stories myself. There are some people who probably consider me just another big kid rather than an actual adult or anything. So I think it just comes naturally to me to want to write stories for kids. I grew up, I wasn't a huge reader myself. But what I did read, I read Stephen King and Dean Koontz and things like that. And I'm just like, as much as I value their writing and their stories and stuff, I find a lot of books that I'm reading now from Rick Riordan and his whole Rick Riordan Presents thing, or James Riley, or a number of other authors out there. I find their stories so much more fascinating, so much more engaging, and I want to be able to have that kind of story. It appeals to me more, and I want to share that kind of story with others, with kids around the world, with no matter how old you are.
Yeah. So have you taken the time to think about the fact that this story that started out entertaining your kids and bringing so much happiness to your family is now being enjoyed by families all around the country and all around the world?
It's still kind of surreal to me. Every now and then I have to remember that, yeah, I actually did this. Somebody actually wanted to publish my book, and it's amazing. And then I read reviews and I'm like, wow, somebody I have no idea who this person is, loved my story. And it's just, yeah, I cannot completely put my head around the whole concept of it, but it's pretty amazing.
We've had a great time speaking to the author of Children of the Ancient Heroes. Our guest has been Russell J. Fellows. Russell, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Reading with Your Kids and will join us for the next exciting episode of the show. Until then, please connect with us on social media, facebook.com/readingwithyourkids, at Reading With Your Kids on Instagram, and at Jedley Magic on X. I want to thank the folks who made today's show so wonderful, starting with our guest, Tammy Gerhard. Please be sure to check out cocoa hugs and coffee mugs. And, of course, her activity book, I Love My Community. Also want to thank Ria Agawall. Please be sure to check out the Hungry Granola Bar. And Russell J. Fellows. Please be sure to check out Children of the Ancient Heroes. I want to thank my team, Fatima Khan, Chris Doherty, Rory Grady. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me. Most of all, we all want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And as always, thank you so very much for taking the time to make the world a better place. And you do that every time you read with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next episode of Reading with Your Kids.